Good morning, Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. It is literally 4:25 a.m. Sunday morning here in Angeles City. We're going to talk about Fiesta. And I'm telling you right now, this is more important than many of you think. And I don't mean it's important that you understand the concept nearly as much as you understand how it can impact you. Whether you're in a long distance relationship, married, single, dating, anything, it is going to impact many of you. So let's talk about it.
I never got it, why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance, no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
Okay, so Fiesta. Fiesta is a tradition. And you know how I feel about traditions. I think a lot of them are bullshit. But in the Philippines, Fiesta is a real tradition. Okay? It is generally a celebration of a patron saint. You know, the Philippines is a highly Catholic religious community. Now, there are big fiestas. We're not going to talk about those. There are fiestas that have tens of thousands of people that show up, even hundreds of thousands of people that show up. We're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about the ones that are going to impact you. All right? And we're going to talk about why it's going to impact you. Fiesta is a time of sharing and giving. And in the province, Fiesta is almost like old home week, like homecoming. You'll find people coming back to their village, their barangay, their parak, whatever, okay, to celebrate Fiesta. It's when everybody gets back together. And it is not nearly as religiously dictated as it is sharing, as it is giving. So, what does that mean to you? Why do you think that's not doesn't really impact you? Well, I'll tell you why. First off, I don't know any expat that comes here that does not get involved with a woman. And the vast majority of you are going to get involved with women who are from the province. Or, they may not be now. They may be living in the city, but they're from the province. And when Fiesta comes, they go home or they participate. For many of you that are involved in long distance relationships, for many of you that are dating, for many of you that have a girlfriend, even a wife. And those of you that have wives, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So Fiesta comes to the province. And I'm going to tell you, there is not a one-time fiesta for everybody. It is literally all over the place. In other words, Fiesta in Arlene's parak, her area, all right, of her barangay, is different than Fiesta from another parak. Now, some of them are larger than others. In other words, Arlene's Fiesta is the major fiesta for her village. They'll have somebody show up with some rides. They'll have gambling booths. They'll have souvenir trinkets and basic foods. But that's not what's going to get involved in you. Not at all. Let me tell you what happens. And we're going to drag this out. And when I say drag it out, we're going to show you how we prepare for Fiesta. In Fiesta, you or somebody is preparing food. And quite frankly, people are going to drop in to eat that food. Now, traditionally, they're going to be relatives, and they're going to be friends of relatives, because they all come along. Or they'll be coworkers and friends of coworkers. Or they'll be neighbors that you may not even know. We know that we will be prepared over a 2-day period that we're going to end up feeding at least or creating at least 100 meals for people. How do we deal with that? Well, that'll be a different video. What I'm going to tell you and how it impacts you is this. If you're dating a girl from the Philippines, Fiesta is a big deal. She wants to go home for Fiesta. And when she wants to go home for Fiesta, she doesn't want to go home and lay around and visit other places. What she wants to do is she wants to go home and she wants her family to be seen as somebody that gives, that cares. And that's going to cost you money. All right? If you're in a long distance relationship, that's going to say, hey, you know what? I have Fiesta coming. I could use some help with the foods. That's the word, foods, Foods. All right? Foods. So, for instance, us. We know that we're going to butcher and cook, and chop out and cook a large pig, all right? And we know we're going to butcher and roast a lechon, a smaller pig. We also know that as soon as we start cooking that bad boy or baboy, all right, we know everybody is going to know. Now, there's some good things and bad things here. If we had a compound gated up where people couldn't get in there at all right, or where they couldn't get very close to us, and it was very, very secluded out in the province, well, wouldn't be such a big deal. We live on a street. Now, we have a gate, and we have security and CCTV and all of that good stuff. But we know what's going to happen. They're going to start filtering through, and they will start filtering through with friends. And they're going to want to eat, and they're going to want to drink, and they are going to help themselves. Now, I guess there's really nothing wrong with that, but that's what your long distance relationship wants to be able to do, at least for her family. Then those of you that have girlfriends, I can tell you right now, at some of the bars here in Angeles City, when Fiesta comes to the province of some of the girls that work in that bar, we've seen bars lose 30% of their workers for a week just because they've gone home for Fiesta. More of them go home for Fiesta than for the holidays. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And when they do, they want to be able to show they care. All right? They're going to want to buy foods for the family. They're going to want to do all of the different things. I know what it's going to cost us. It won't be cheap by Filipino standards. It's not going to be that much by American standards, but certainly by Filipino standards, it won't be. And it's going to be a lot of work. Quite frankly, my wife, her two sisters, her father, all right, they're going to work preparing all of this stuff. Now, if you've got a wife, if you've got a girlfriend, same thing applies. And that's why Fiesta needs to be important to you, because you need to understand at some point you have to draw a line, because they'll make it as big as they can. It's a sense of pride for them. Maybe it's a sense of showing off. Maybe it's a moral obligation. All right. You can name it 100 different ways. And I don't see anything wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. But you do have to draw a line. I can tell you last year I did not go to Fiesta. I can also tell you that if I had any hair on my head, watching through the CCTV cameras, I would have pulled every one of them out. And the problem becomes the respect for your own areas and things. Now, our house is designated in a couple of different ways. And what I mean by that is it's sort of, well, I'll put it to you like this. The entire second floor is off limits to everybody except my father-in-law, my sister-in-laws, and my wife and I. And the kids have to be accompanied if they come upstairs. And generally, because I am who I am and what I am, take it for what you want, explain it the way you want, they don't come upstairs, ever. That's my domain. I keep a refrigerator in the master bedroom. I have a 70-inch TV. I have internet. I'm good to go. Oh, and of course, a CR. So, downstairs, totally different. There's going to be drinking. There's going to be karaoke. There's going to be eating. All right? But here's the part that gets you. What I noticed was certain people would come in and get a plate of food. All right? And they would, I kid you not, when I say a plate, this thing was like piled high. And then the next thing you know, they've got 2 more plates of food that they're wrapping up to take home to go. And then they're wrapping up an entire entree. In other words, they're filling a whole plate with either chicken, fish, or baboy. I know that we will end up with pigs, we'll end up with pork, we'll end up with chicken, and we'll end up with fish that we're serving. And I know they will eat it until it is gone, all gone. And then they'll be back the next day, if not that evening, if not stay there. And as long as you've got food and drink, they're going to stay there. Somebody's got to pay for all that. So you need to recognize, and you need to sit down and figure out, am I going to participate in this? And if I'm going to participate in this, to what extent? Now, I got to tell you, I figured out how I'm going to participate in it. And that'll be a different video with Arlene and I as we go through what we're putting together and what we need to pick up when we hit the province for Fiesta. So it just doesn't matter. You need to know what Fiesta means to many, many Filipinos. Okay? And you need to recognize you're going to end up spending money on it. Or you're going to end up having to set your foot in the ground and draw a line in the sand or whatever you want to call it. Hey, look, just a tidbit of real Philippine tradition. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and have a great day. Thanks.